Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. Today I am actually really excited because I am off to check out the new Western, The Dead Don't Hurt. Guys, I love a good Western, and this one looks like it's going to be pretty awesome. It's written, directed, and starring Viggo Mortensen, and I love it when someone believes in their work so much that they put that much effort into it. So I'm excited to go see this movie, and like I said, I love a good Western. This tells the story of two pioneers, two immigrants to the United States back during the Civil War. Viggo Mortensen's character decides to join the Union Army during the Civil War, and while he's off fighting in the Civil War, bad things happen to his family while he's gone. Let's just put it that way. This looks like it's going to be a very tense, almost thriller-esque Western, so I'm looking forward to it, guys. And you know what? It is enough of me sitting here yammering on. It is time for me to get out the door because I need to go check out The Dead Don't Hurt. Welcome back, just getting home, and guys, I really enjoyed this movie, but it was not what I was expecting. So let's get this started, shall we? We're going to get things started with the negatives and then move into the positives to end the video on the ever so important high note. Now, negative-wise, this is not necessarily the film's fault in any way, shape, or form, but I feel like the trailer for this movie was a little misleading. Now, as I said in the intro, I felt like this might have some thriller elements, which I guess you could argue that it does have elements of a thriller, but this movie is a hardcore Western drama. This is a very slow burn, and the trailer makes it look like there's going to be a little bit more action and excitement than actually happens in this film. This movie is more grounded, and it tells more of an intimate story about two people's lives more than it is an action-packed revenge story, which is kind of what the trailer of this film shows you. It kind of shows you the one tiny little aspect of this film, and that is, you know, the events that happen after Viggo Mortensen comes back home from the war. And yeah, I think it was very misleading to the audience. Some people were probably going into this film expecting a lot more action, a lot more of what you would expect from a typical Western, and what this was a very just more of a romance story, to be perfectly honest. This film actually is kind of like a Western Shakespearean tragedy, to be perfectly honest. And let's just say, I get it, that's hard to market, alright, but the trailer is a little on the misleading side, and I think that it's going to kind of push audiences away, or it's going to attract the wrong audience, and they're going to say the movie's terrible. So I'm a little worried about that. Now, I did say this movie is a slow burn. It's about 2 hours. It's a little bit over 2 hours, and to be perfectly honest, yes, you do feel it. This is a very acting, very character-driven drama, and if that is something that you're not into, if that is something you just cannot stand and find boring, this film might not be your cup of tea. Yes, it is a Western, but if you're expecting something like, oh, I don't know, Bonanza, or heck, I don't know, I haven't watched Yellowstone, but I'm sure Yellowstone has more action than this movie did. This is not the film for you. This, as I said, is way more of a I wouldn't call it a character study, but almost just like a slice of life, historical drama, to be perfectly honest. I don't really, the only elements of it being a Western is the fact of what time period it takes place in. Let's put it that way, alright? Now, all that aside, let's get into the positives. Now, I don't really find any of those negatives bad, to be perfectly honest. I do not mind this film being a very slow burn. I was thoroughly entertained throughout the entire film, and a lot of that has to do with the extremely, extremely good acting that comes from our two leads, Viggo Mortensen and Vicky Krieps. And Vicky Krieps, I am not familiar with her work, but from here on out, if I see a movie that she is starring in or has a small role in, I think I'm going to have to check it out because she delivered a mind-blowingly amazing performance. Both of our leads were very good in their roles, but I felt like she had a lot more heavy lifting in this story with her character. She has a very difficult role in this film, and she pulls it off very well. This movie is extremely dependent on the actors of this film doing a very good job. And I know I'm singling out our two leads, but really the entire cast does an excellent job. This movie's cinematography is also really, really amazing. It really utilizes the wilderness of California. At least I think it's filmed in California. It's set in California. So I'm going to assume that the movie is filmed in California. And let's just say that the cinematographer takes complete advantage of the beautiful scenery of California in some amazingly very well executed shots. This movie is also very convincing in being in its time period. Everything looks spot on, and in making this film more out in the wilderness in the pioneer days, I think it really helped the film a lot because it's mostly filmed in the wilderness or in more of like canyon spaces and stuff like that, so it's a little bit easier for the filmmakers to make it a lot more convincing. The sets looked great, the costuming was spot on, everything about this film was absolutely beautifully and meticulously crafted down to the last detail. Needless to say, as I keep saying, I really enjoyed this movie a lot, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be everybody's cup of tea. But if this sounds like something that you really enjoy, I say get out there, support this film, check this movie out in theaters, because it's definitely worth a watch if this sounds like something you would enjoy. If you like a really cool slow burn style film, this is definitely going to be up your alley. And one last thing that I forgot to mention, something that I did enjoy, but at first I felt a little jarring because the film doesn't do a very good job of explaining what's happening. You just kind of figure it out, and that is the timeline of the film. The movie does jump around a little bit with the events that happen in the movie. The film does one of those taking place at the very beginning of the movie is near the end of the events of the film kind of thing, and then it shows you how you got to that, and then it will break in and so on and so forth. So the film does bounce around a little bit, and at first it kind of throws you off because, like I said, the movie does not hold your hand in any way, shape, or form on how it's going to tell its story. So at first it seems a little jarring, but then you really get into it and it's actually kind of fun, and it really adds a lot to the way the story builds and it's told. Because of the way that it's told in kind of slightly unique fashion, I guess you could say, it really helps this film keep your attention because you really have to, you have to know what's going on. You basically have to keep paying attention because you're not going to lose your place, is what I'm trying to say. Well, you know what? I've gone on and on enough about this. So yes, this is a great little film to get out and see. Definitely go check this film out in the theaters. Support these small little films, like I say, because they are the lifeblood of cinema, and get out there. Spend your money on these movies, okay? We don't need to spend money on the big Hollywood blockbusters all the freaking time. Sometimes we need to get out and see these little films, these intimate little stories that exist out there. Well, alright guys, that's all I have for you today. Thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.